It's easy to wake up. It's harder to stay awake. That is what one of my very first mentors told me when I was in my early 20s and really diving into a lot of the whole personal growth, development stuff. And today that still rings true for me. So thank you, Michael Cole. If anyone is in the salon world and knows who I'm talking about, he's still out there making amazing posts on Facebook and sharing his wisdom with the world. So for me, what that means is, like, I learned something new or I start a new practice, and it goes great for like the first week or so, or maybe the first few days, and then it kind of trails off, and life happens, right? So for example, all right, I'm going to be compassionate towards myself and compassionate towards others, and really zen, and then someone cuts you off driving, and then it's like, F you and your face, and on and on and on. And all of a sudden, all that compassion just went completely out the window. So I just want to say, like, hey, that's normal. And this stuff is a practice. Nobody is going to be perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. And the more that we practice these principles and these things that we learn along the way, the more they become integrated into our lives. And I will say, over time, things do get easier, and it's, you spend more time being awake than trying to stay awake, and it just becomes this natural state. And lately I've been on this Joe Dispenza kick, complete mind F. And it really makes sense, because as what he talks about is all the neurochemistry and like the stuff going on in our brains, how our brains get into patterns of functioning, right, in different brainwave states. And that when we're used to being like in fight or flight or on guard, I think it's a high beta wave state, there's like anxiety and fear and irritability and the unknown, and you're just always looking for like something to go wrong. And it's a state of high stress. And so being in that state of high stress creates different hormones and chemicals flowing through your body, like cortisol, and it conditions your body to be in that state more often than not. And that's where we get like chronic illness, any illness, fatigue, the anxiety, depression. And so what he talks about is rewiring your brain to be in a different state, which is not constantly in that high beta state, and being more in a state of alert awareness, right? So it just really corresponded with that message of, it's easy to wake up. It's harder to stay awake because our brains and our bodies have been conditioned for so long to be in this pattern. So breaking that pattern, it takes a lot of effort and it takes some time. So I just invite everyone to give yourself a break. And, it's like coming back sooner than later. And, doing the meditation practices are really helpful for me, even if it's 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and over time it builds, and we start to rewire our brains to be in a state of pleasure and a state of unconditional love and a state of alert awareness and unity consciousness. And the more we can stay in those states and get our brains in those states, the easier it is to stay awake. And I've noticed for me, the less time I spend falling back into the pattern of apathy and depression or anxiety. So yeah, they'll still visit, things still come up, life still happens, and I spend less time there than I did before. And those states are fewer and farther in between now. So compassion for yourself, compassion for others. It's easy to wake up, it's harder to stay awake. And I'll just plug some coaching here because that's why coaching is so powerful. You get to be reminded and held accountable for staying awake, and you get support on that journey, and you get that empathy and compassion from someone. It's like, let me love you until you can love yourself. I will have compassion for you until you can have compassion for yourself, and help you to shift those old patterns that are not working for you anymore. And that to me is one of the biggest blessings and gifts that I've experienced and that I now have to offer. I had to, let people love me until I loved myself. Let someone hold space for me until I could be in that space for myself. And then, like I said, eventually over time, sooner than later, we spend more time being awake than trying to wake up again. So that's what I have to share with you today, and Goddess blessings, and enjoy the journey. There is no destination. The destination is right here, right now.